First time starting a chapter since 2024. That's fucked up, man. The pace we've been going through this damn game has been very, very slow. Are you excited? I can't say because I don't know if what this chapter's gonna be like. Because here's the deal: whenever we start a new chapter, there's that relief of, hey, we'll get some like slice of life. Just get to like have fun with our friends for a little bit. But this chapter is shorter, so how much of that are we gonna get? If any at all. Or maybe it's all slice of life. Who knows? I don't know. Let's just go though. Boy, I haven't heard that in a long time. The time killing chapter. I now trust you with all the mysteries hidden within Higurashi When They Cry. However comical it may be, if you've reached any conjecture, you have passed. This final novel is a meager reward for you. Conjecture is impossible. You have the right to reject this story. Huh. I haven't heard that in a while. I don't like that laugh. This arc includes choices that were added in the console version. These choices wrote in dialogue changes can lead to bad ends. Do you want to see these choices? Please do not do that. Who's the criminal, you ask? Don't we search them in this story? Who's the criminal, you ask? Do you even know what the criminal did? Who's the criminal? Who's the criminal who will kill me now? That's cool, Frederica Bernkastel. Midsummer 1985. Is this chapter gonna be? I'd misread the time and ended up arriving too early. The schedule board flipped with a series of clacks. My flight to Sapporo was still a bit later on. Still had over an hour before boarding. Well, I might as well close my eyes for a bit on that bench over there, then. I came here directly from work, so maybe the fatigue from that was making me sleepy. We are not Keiichi. So my volume is really high. Finding a suitable bench, I put my luggage on the seat next to me and settled down. Akasaka? Who? I sighed like an old man. I had hoped to stay young forever, but had become splendidly middle-aged. Apparently the rumor that even people in the latter half of their 20s experience a decline in their physical strength wasn't a lie. I'd been mind-numbingly busy at work lately, so I rarely had any time to myself. This might have been the first time I'd been able to enjoy a journey alone like this since I was a student. The reason behind this trip was to meet with an old friend. It was a bit strange to call him an old friend. In fact, it might be better to call him a bad one. After retiring a couple of years ago, he moved to Sapporo, his mother's hometown. His mother passed away soon after, and he was now peacefully enjoying his second lease on life. Uishi? His name was Kurado Uishi. Yeah, okay. As Uishi mentioned a lot, retiring and moving back to his mom's hometown with her. The fuck? He was a former detective from the Primary Investigation Unit at the station Okinomiya, Blank Prefecture. To be honest, the only direct contact we ever had didn't last more than 3 days. After that, we exchanged New Year's cards, but never met again. This will be the first time meeting him in 7 years. In other words, we met 7 years ago. In 1978. There's something I just had to ask, to talk to him about concerning that time. To explain that it was impossible not to recall the incident that happened back then. That kidnapping, the details and resolution of which were resigned to darkness. Also, it was impossible to recall a certain mysterious girl. My name is Mamoru Akasaka. It was a year that had been strangely hot, even though it was only June. Who the fuck is this? 19 we're going back? What is this chapter? Goodbye, teacher.
はい、さようなら。
Okay, bye.
車に気をつけるんですよ。
Watch out for cars.
お友達の家に寄り道なんかしないように。
And don't drop in at a friend's house along the way.
明日の教科書の準備は必ず寝る前にしておくんですよ。
Make sure you get your textbooks in order for tomorrow before you go to bed. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The lively sounds of children running towards the hallway.
でさ、つってんだぜ。
Hey now, didn't I tell you before?
そんなの俺持ってるわよ。
I already have one of those.
いらねえよ。
I don't need any more. The unique high-pitched voice of youth. The energetic shrill of cicadas went completely unheard by their ears. Children returning home from school split off one by one from their groups of friends as they went through intersections in the residential area. Even though there were several of them in a group as they left the school, as they got close to their homes, their numbers dwindled. That's why the fewer friends you were walking home with acted as an indicator that you were that much closer to your destination.
じゃあな。
Later.
あばよ。
See ya.
また明日ね。
Yeah, see you tomorrow. He finally parted ways with his last friend. A van was parked at a bend in the road. The window was open, the sound of the radio leaking outside. Must have been the news or something.
たため、道路交通法違反、公務執行妨害で3名を逮捕しました。
For that reason, the three of them were arrested for traffic violations and obstruction of justice.
一連の日並沢ダム建設反対をめぐる運動は、先月の機動隊との流血事件を境に過激化の一途をたどっており、
Due to the protests against the Hinamizawa Dam project resulting in bloodshed when clashing with riot police last month, things have only become more violent.
警察では過激な活動家による次の事件を警戒しています。
The police are therefore taking precautions against radical activists causing yet another incident.
先週も建設省庁舎前での犬飼建設大臣への直訴事件があったばかりで、
Last week, there was also a direct confrontation with Minister Inukai on the steps of the Ministry of Construction. The boy's ears perked up at the mention of the name Inukai. At that moment, a man's face peeked out suddenly from the window of the van. His behavior was a little different than that of a man looking around to see if there was any incoming traffic before he opened the door of his vehicle. His eyes meeting suddenly with the unfamiliar man, the boy panicked slightly.
ウグイス OK。
Nightingale, okay?
ひばり OK。
Skylark, okay?
前後2ブロック確保した。
They've secured the 2 blocks around us.
いいぞ。
We're good to go. The man in the passenger seat whispered quietly. Nodding in acknowledgement, the man opened the door and stood before the boy.
君、犬飼俊樹くん？
You. Are you Toshiki Unukai-kun? While asking that, the man peered at the boy's name tag. Toshiki Inukai. The name was written plainly there. The phone rang for a third time. If he reached out, he could easily pick up the receiver. However, he was concerned that if he picked it up before it had even finished ringing once, whoever's on the other end of the line would think him a fairly cheap person. That's why he normally never picked up the phone until the third ring. Even he thought it was a worthless habit. However, his thinking that there isn't much meaning in waiting for just 3 rings, wouldn't waiting for 5 be alright, was very much reality. Mind filled with such trifling thoughts, he picked up the phone after the third ring had finished, its reverb dampened by his action.
はい。
Yes.
もしもし。
Hello?
もしもし。
Hello? He knew that sometimes due to a malfunction at the switchboard, calls didn't connect well. At those times, it was best to hang up and let the person on the other end call again. Thinking that, the moment he began to hang up the phone, he sensed that he was definitely connected after all. He felt the presence of the person on the other end of the line, keeping silent.
もしもし。
Hello? There was no way they didn't hear his question. What was the meaning of this? It wasn't like he didn't know that people could use silent calls to harass others. However, he'd never received a call like that until today. Maybe he was just lucky before, but he didn't believe that he would receive such a call on this phone. There were no direct calls to or from this line. Everything had to go through an operator. Therefore, there's absolutely no way the call would be connected unless it was verified there was somebody else on the other end of the line. That's why he didn't understand how to deal with this silent call and instead settled into confusion.
あんた、誰だか知らないが、用がないなら切るよ。
I don't know who you are, but if you have nothing to say, I'm going to hang up.
また、かけ直してください。
Please call again some other time. Intending that to be a parting line, he made to slam down the receiver. It was at that moment the person on the other end spoke for the first time. You didn't say who you were, so I was anxious. Well, that's a good name to have. If you're not Minister Inukai, please hang up right away. He couldn't help but be surprised by the extremely strange voice on the other end of the line. Is there a human alive who could speak with this hoarse and metallic voice? No, this was a voice he had heard somewhere before. This was the kind of voice that was on those lowbrow documentaries that they'd use when they wanted to hide the identity of a speaker, wasn't it? The voice he was hearing over the line was exactly like that.
あんた、誰？
Who are you? As I said, that's what I want to ask. Are you Minister Inukai? He, Inukai, hesitated to answer. Unable to discern the intent of the suspicious phone call, he had a vague feeling that something was off. He thought about hanging up the phone and asking the operator who initiated the call. However, he forced himself to restrain that urge, and for the time being chose to state his name and listen.
そうです。
That's right.
犬飼です。
This is Inukai?
名乗りましたよ。だから、あんたも名乗ってくださいよ。
I said my name, now say yours.
私の名前なんてどうでもいいんです。
My name doesn't matter.
まず、あなたがどういう立場に置かれているか、それを認識するところから始めましょう。
First of all, let's begin by thinking about the situation you're in right now.
あなたは今、自分の席で電話をしていますね。
Right now, you're sitting in your chair talking on the phone, yes?
では、あなたの席の右側の一番下の引き出しを開けてみてください。
Then, why don't you try opening the lower drawer to your right? The lowest drawer to the right of the minister's chair. There was a lock on it, not enough to function as a safe, but nonetheless it was a drawer that contained some valuable things. That's why Unukai thought that the person wanted some of the important information contained within that drawer.
すまんが、開けるつもりはないよ。
Sorry, but I don't have any intention of opening that.
自分の名前も名乗れん奴の言いなりになる言われはない。
I have no reason to follow orders from somebody who won't even give me his name.
引き出しを開けてくれないなら、この電話を切ります。
If you don't open that drawer, I'll hang up the phone.
後悔することになりますよ。
You will most likely end up regretting that.
まずは引き出しを開けてから考えてもいいんじゃないですか。
Why don't you think about opening that drawer first? Inukai didn't like following orders from the suspicious person one bit. However, he was concerned about what the man said about regretting it, so he decided to open the drawer. He took the small key he kept stowed in his wallet and unlocked the drawer. His hand stopped right before he opened it. If there was a bomb inside, it would explode if the drawer was opened. That delusion took hold of him. He quelled that instinct and opened it.
開けてくれましたか？
Did you do it?
そこにあるものが何かわかりますよね。
The thing that's in there, do you know what it is?
これはどういうことだ？
This is... What is the meaning of this?
おい、
Hey!
どういうことか説明する必要なんかないですよね。
I don't think there's any need for me to explain, is there?
時間を差し上げますので、少しお考えください。
I'll give you some time, so please think about it a little.
また後ほどこちらから連絡いたします。
I'll contact you again later.
それでは失礼。
Now then, pardon me.
おい、
Hey!
待て。
Wait!
もしもし、
Hello?
もしもし。
Hello? The call had already ended. That would not change no matter how much he yelled at it. Even still, Inukai, without realizing that, continued yelling into the receiver for a while. The drawer was still open. On top of the folders crammed into the drawer, it lay there. Toshiki Inukai. Written in plain lettering on a grade schooler's name tag, just lying there. Enshrined there, completely out of place, as if it were cowering. Oh boy. This is very different from our usual antics. Yeah, no kidding, huh? Starting strong with a kidnapping. You remember Yuki? This picture. This is where I first proposed to you. That brief moment before you nodded back. Probably wouldn't know just how much it seemed like an eternity to me. Yes. Would never have thought that that amount of time could feel like an eternity. Compared to how long I had to wait for you to propose to me, it was. From the moment I met you until today. Compared to the time I've spent since I was born, it might only be a brief period, but they were definitely precious, beautiful days that deserve to be called an eternity. That time continues even now. From now on. I wonder if it'll be a boy. Or maybe a girl. Either one is fine. Boy or girl. Either way, it's living proof that we love each other. It's a boy, we'll name it after you. Mamoru. It's a girl. I'll put the Yuki from my name in hers. Thinking about names is so fun, in the end, we still haven't decided yet. There's still time to puzzle over it. Not that long of a time, actually. You see, Yuki, there's something I have to apologize for today. It's about your job. Sorry. Looks like an annoying bit of work has come up. In the worst case, I might not be able to be there for the delivery. Fine. You have a very important job. What you do protects the way we live. Compared to you, it's nothing. Please, go ahead. When you return, I'll be waiting here with our child. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. Please don't apologize. Feel guilty about it, then you can just atone. If I atone that much, no matter how much money I have, it won't be enough. Joke. Now go on. This is so different. As I left the room, I bumped into an elderly man. It was Yuki's father. In other words, my father-in-law.
お父さん、
Father,
邪魔する気はなかったからな。
I didn't want to intrude,
廊下で待たせてもらったよ。
so I waited in the hall.
聞き耳を立てるつもりはなかったが、聞こえてしまった。
I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard.
生きたまえ。
Go.
ユキエはああいう娘だ。
Yuki is that kind of girl.
何があっても自分が君の枷になることを望むまい。
No matter what happens, she doesn't want to hold you back.
私はこれまで幸恵に様々な犠牲を強いてきました。
I've forced Yuki to give up on so many things.
出産という人生の節目にまで彼女に犠牲を強いることを恥じます。
Put her through this during childbirth, such an important time in her life. I'm ashamed.
君が本当にそう思うなら、仕事が終わったらユキエのために時間を割きなさい。
If you really feel that way, when you're done with your work, make some time for Yuki.
君が仕事を投げ出して付き添ってくれるよりも、そうした方がきっとユキエも喜ぶだろう。
You'll be happier with that than you passing your work off on someone else.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
君がとても大切な仕事をしていることは私もよく知っている。
I know full well you do important work.
自分の仕事を誇りに思いなさい。
Be proud in what you do.
ユキエは君が見事難題を解決して凱旋するのを楽しみにしている。
Yuki is looking forward to your triumphant return.
はい。
Yes. I jumped in the taxi that was waiting outside. Compared to the time when I first got here, the numbers on the fare meter had grown considerably. It seemed the modest time Yuki and I'd spent together wasn't so modest from an objective point of view.
待たせてすみません。
Sorry to keep you waiting.
やってください。
Go ahead.
いえいえ。
No worries.
では参りますよ。
Well then, off we go. The taxi jerked as it changed gears to accelerate, soon bearing the hospital my wife was in behind a throng of buildings. If it was to end up as a really troublesome ordeal, I probably wouldn't be returning for quite some time. To call a rookie like me, and on top of that, one who's off duty, it seemed the section chief was calling for all hands on deck. The veteran upper brass gathering on an emergency basis happened occasionally. This was the first time, though, that I experienced everybody gathering together like this. Whatever was happening, there was no doubt it was going to be something novel. My wife was ready to give birth. If I wanted to spend the time to curse my misfortunes, I'd be here all day. Even the verdant ginkgo trees lining the street that always brighten my mood seem to lack some of their usual luster. Eventually, the government office came into view. Briefly holding my breath, I let the feelings of tension course through my body once again. I had to remember the work I was doing was important, necessary, and difficult. I composed myself and sharpened my wit. Ready. The taxi stopped in front of the building. Tokyo.
室長、全員揃いました。
Chief, everyone's here.
赤坂君、ブラインド下ろしてくれる？
Akasaka-kun, could you close the blinds? It's kind of crazy, we're in the 70s, yeah. The blinds were usually closed when they needed to use the projector, or if the discussion was going to contain some particularly disturbing content. Blinds closed with a satisfying sound, darkening the interior of the room. Immediately, the inside of the room was completely drained of the pleasant morning atmosphere, leaving behind only the cold illumination of the fluorescent lighting. After the supervisor ensured that everyone was present, he nodded to the section chief once again. With everybody on the edge of their seats, the chief stood up solemnly and began to give his report.
推定48時間前、建設大臣の孫にあたる建設省幹部の子息が誘拐された模様です。
Approximately 48 hours ago, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who is also the son of one of his staff leaders, is believed to have been kidnapped.
建設大臣は事態を穏便に済ませるため、警察へ通報せず要求に応じるものと思われます。
It is believed the minister, in an effort to resolve matters amicably, chose not to report the situation to the police and plans to cede to the demands imposed upon him. It seemed that approximately 48 hours earlier, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who was also the son of one of his senior staff members, was kidnapped. The reason why it was phrased that way was because the person in question didn't admit it had happened.
大臣宅の通話を監視した結果、都外からと思われる不審な電話が数件確認されました。
Based on the results of surveillance conducted on the minister's residence, multiple suspicious phone calls from what is believed to be outside the city took place.
誘拐された子供は病気療養中となっているが、通院の形跡はなく、周辺での目撃例もなく。
The abducted child is said to be under treatment for some illness, but there's no trace of any hospital records or witnesses to such effect.
その他いくつかの理由から、事件発生は間違いないものと断定しました。
Due to that and various other reasons, we believe without a doubt that a kidnapping has occurred. Here, they omitted the details that brought this incident to light. If you think about it a bit, that meant that before this incident happened, the minister's residence had been under surveillance already. I won't use the word spied upon. Of course, there wouldn't have been court approval for this, and it would have been very hard to explain to ordinary citizens. However, it was quite an effective method to catch wind of incidents like this before they got worse. I'd like for you to understand that dealing with these cases before they become a problem is the job of the Public Safety Division.
なぜ警察に通報せず要求を鵜呑みに？
Why is he just following their demands instead of reporting this to the police?
大臣たる者が警察を信用できないってんだから。世も末だね。
The fact that a minister can't even trust the police. What is the world coming to?
犯人グループは誘拐初期に自分たちが大臣の生活をかなり高度に監視していることを警告し、その証拠を示した様子です。
It seems the group of perpetrators demonstrated that they have quite a high level of surveillance on the minister themselves when they conducted the kidnappings.
大臣が屈服し、警察への通報も思いとどまるほどの何かですね。
Enough to give the minister pause before calling the police.
警察へ通報してもすぐにわかるぞって？
We'll find out right away if you call the cops, more or less.
大臣の近辺に内通者がいる可能性か。
It was possible there's a mole close to the minister. Several of the higher-ranking members who seem to have experience with this kind of thing let out deep sighs.
犯人グループの目的が要求にあるのか、事件そのものにあるのかは不明ですが。
The goals of the perpetrators, their demands, as well as this entire incident are as of yet unclear.
いずれにせよ、国益を脅かす事態に発展する可能性が極めて高い。
But in any case, the possibility that this may grow to threaten national interest is extremely high. Their goal was to simply have their demands met for monetary gain. That would have been nice. However, if this was some politically motivated shakeup, things would get a lot more complicated.
被害者の協力がないということは、脅迫内容も要求も一切不明ということか。
Since we're not receiving any cooperation from the victim, that means that we're not privy to any of the details of the threats or demands.
本件は内通者の水準がかなり高いと思われるため、当室のみの極秘捜査とします。
Due to the fact we believe there may be a mole involved in this incident, this investigation is highly classified. Only the people in this room are to know of this.
また本件は本日より最優先事項となり、これまでの通常業務を一時凍結して対応します。
Furthermore, as this case is our utmost priority, we're placing a hold on everybody's normal duties.
よろしいですね。
Understood? After that, the supervisor continued on, tactfully explaining our course of action. If this incident were to become public, it was possible that the minister's political life would be over. I'll spare you the explanation of how the rest of the dominoes would fall, but in the end, support in the Diet would decline, followed by a no-confidence vote in a snap election. And it might even expand communist influences. In other words, we wanted to handle this delicately.
川崎と佐伯は大臣宅、子供宅の通話を24時間監視。
Kawasaki and Saiki monitor communications from the minister and the child's residences 24/7.
大臣の動向を探れ。
Find out what the minister is doing.
動きがあるたびに逐一報告せよ。
Report anything that happens.
残る各職員は担当団体ごとに本件との関連を調査。
The remaining members investigate whatever is related to the case as assigned to your units.
最近動きが不穏な特殊ラインは集中的にやれ。
Focus your line of investigation on the commies, reds, and confeds.
それから外国勢力も水を漏らすな。
Don't discount the possibility of foreign involvement either. I've experienced one or two unamicable situations before. This, however, was the first time I've seen things get so hectic. Several sophisticated conversations were progressing without the involvement of a rookie like me. I didn't intend to be timid, but I couldn't hide my confusion at this unfamiliar situation.
では柿内に行ってくれ。
Cover that.
で、赤坂君は
As for Akasaka-kun, I snapped back to alertness upon hearing my name called.
はい。
Yes.
赤坂君は大臣に陳情してきた環境保護団体関連を調査してくれ。
You investigate the environmental groups that have petitioned the minister.
中でも新聞でも騒ぎになってるひなみ沢ダム建設反対の団体をよく調査すること。
Among them, there's that group protesting the Hinamizawa Dam project that made the papers. Make sure you investigate them thoroughly.
住民団体の仕業とは到底思えないが、全ての可能性を潰していかなくてはならない。
I doubt this is the act of some citizen group, but we have to eliminate every possibility we can.
わかりました。
Understood.
ひなみ沢ダム反対か。
So those opposed to the Hinamizawa Dam.
直接現地へ行った方がいいだろう。
It's probably best if you go to the location personally. I wondered if we were going there.
現地県警で情報を取れ。
Get some information from the local authorities.
かなり過激な団体らしく、向こうの公安でもマークしてるらしいぞ。
They're a fairly radical organization, so the Public Safety Division there should have them marked as well.
わかりました。
Understood.
現地へ出向します。
I'll head over there.
奥さん、出産控えてるんだって？
Your wife. She's almost ready to give birth, isn't she?
こんなタイミングで申し訳ないけど、協力頼むよ。
I apologize for the timing of all this, but I'm counting on your cooperation.
時間がかけられないから、人海戦術で総当たりで行くしかないんだ。
We can't take our time with this, so we just have to brute force it with our boots to the ground.
ええ、分かってます。
Yeah, I know.
家内も自分の都合が私の仕事に触ることを嫌いますから。
My wife hates to interfere with my work with her own circumstances anyways.
すまん。ありがとう。
Sorry, and thanks.
それから、川崎くん、佐伯くん、君たちの応援には。
So then, as for Kawasaki-kun and Saiki-kun, to help support your... I didn't want to take a business trip when my wife was about to give birth. Even if I was a little busy, as long as I was in Tokyo, I could head to the hospital right away. On assignment, though, that would be difficult. Even so, I knew the work I was doing was important, and fully understood that I was in no position to be so selfish. I'd have to make it up to my wife for having to be away at such an important time. My wife, Yuki, would probably forgive me with a smile. The only thing she could hate doing would be holding me back. My male ego, though, at least wished she would have tried to stop me. Sorry, Yuki. I don't mind if you always complain to our child that their father couldn't come to the hospital when they were born because he was too busy with work. The next day, I took the bullet train to Nagoya, and from there transferred to the train to blank prefecture. Getting to my destination by land took several hours. If I was traveling by air in that amount of time, I could probably get as far as Hong Kong. Blank prefecture was by no means close. I never sat in first class except for work, but whenever I did, the seats seemed stiff. Closing my eyes, I mentally reviewed the documents I read yesterday. Group under investigation, the Onigafuchi Guardians. They were a group of residents opposed to the development proposed under the Hinamizawa Dam project. The local protests were quite heated and were getting more radicalized. Even limited to what was written in the newspapers, there was bloodshed that occurred during a clash with riot police, interference with the dam construction, too many to count. The number of petitions, sit-ins, and direct appeals to the relevant organizations were innumerable. As an extension of that, there was a direct appeal to the Minister of Construction the other day.
これがそもそも今回この団体を調査することになったゆえんだ。
This was the reason why we were investigating this group in the first place. The land they lived on was going to be submerged, so it was no wonder that they would go into a frenzy over it. Even given that, though, could they really be capable of doing something like kidnapping the Minister of Construction's grandson in order to halt the project? For my take on it, I had serious doubts. This kidnapping plot was extremely sophisticated and complicated enough that it was believed there was some political backing. This wasn't something that could be pulled off by some group of local protesters. Well, just like the chief said, the plan was to eliminate all possibilities. While I'm in the blank police's reference room taking my time investigating, the higher-ups in Tokyo would probably solve the case. Without my involvement entirely. Even if that was true, I couldn't regret being away from Tokyo while my wife was ready to give birth. This was work. There was really nothing that I could do. Ding dong. The announcement that we'd be arriving at our destination soon snapped me back to wakefulness. This dude ain't ready for how we play in Hinamizawa. No, man.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟ですか？
The Onigafuchi Guardians?
ええ、地元ではかなり賑わせているようです。
Yeah, they've been quite active around here. The Prefectural Public Safety Department already had the documents and a cup of tea ready and waiting for me.
早い話がダム反対の住民運動なんですが。
The short of it is they're a group of residents opposed to the dam.
事実上、水没地域の住民すべてが決起したと言っていいでしょうね。
Really, it's probably better to say that every resident living on the land that's going to be submerged is rising to action, though.
死守なんて古風な言い方が示す通り、相当の決意と覚悟を持った連中です。
Like the old saying, fight to the last. They're a determined and well-prepared lot.
そこら辺の温和な住民団体とは一線を画すと思っていただいた方がいいですね。
It'd be nice if they drew the line at just being a moderate residential organization. The stack of papers they prepared for me in the document room was by no means thin.
発足当初はごくごく平均的な住民運動だったんです。
At first, they were pretty much your average citizens initiative, but
それがいつだかの流血事件を境に急にヒートアップしまして。
ever since that incident with the riot police, they've really started to heat up.
今では暴力主義団体か、それに準じるくらいの過激な勢力に成長したと言えますね。
Now they've got a violent mentality, on top of growing increasingly radical. Violent organizations usually indicate ones that enforce their own ideology without regards to the democratic process. Breaking that down, many of those organizations held extreme left revolutionary ideologies. Considering that, I couldn't help but be surprised that a citizens group would end up going this far. Radical citizens movements happen occasionally. It seemed, however, that this group was nothing as trifling as that. It seemed that I would have to reconsider exactly what this Onigafuchi Guardians was.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が要求。つまりダム計画の撤回を求めるために行いうる活動範囲はどの程度でしょうか。
The Guardians demand, in other words, the withdrawal of the dam project. How far would they go to have that demand met? The kidnapping of the minister's grandson was classified. That meant, of course, I couldn't tell the Blink prefectural department about it either.
ご存知の通り、先週あった犬飼建設大臣への直訴事件では逮捕者も出ています。
As you know, there were arrests after last week's confrontation with Minister Inukai.
危険性は十分にありますね。
There's enough reason to believe that they could use illegal means to assert their demands. I skimmed over the list of the criminal records related to the Onigafuchi Guardians recorded in the documents. The contents were all violent, not giving me the barest hint of a feeling that these people were trying to uphold the law.
具体的に教えていただけますか。
Could you give me a basic rundown of the type of illegal activities the Onigafuchi Guardians are engaging in? The chief opened up a manila envelope, fished out several unorganized sheets, and spread them out on the desk.
建設現場への襲撃事件が最も多かったですね。
It seems that raids on the construction site are the most common.
初期の頃、電源コードの切断や錠前の鍵穴に石を詰める、投石による事務所の窓ガラス割り等の軽犯罪が頻発していました。
At first, they were committing relatively petty crimes like cutting power cords, jamming locks, and breaking office windows by throwing rocks. Of course, what really happened first were things like demonstrations, sit-ins, and distribution of pamphlets, lively but democratic forms of protests. However, then the demonstrators and police clashed, which started a riot, leading to numerous injuries and arrests. From then on, the Onigafuchi Guardians, like their name implies, began to take a more demonic form of resistance. I'm gonna enjoy seeing this Chud's thoughts.
襲撃が度重なれば地元警察による警備強化がなされるのでは。
I'm joining the war on the Onigafuchi Guardians, on the side of the Onigafuchi Guardians. The raids were frequent. Didn't the local police up their patrols?
それは警戒はしたでしょうね。
Well, of course they were on full alert, but
でもあちらは地元ですから。
they're up against locals, you know.
闇に乗じて忍び込まれたらお手上げでしょう。
There wasn't much the police could do if they were sneaking around in the cover of darkness. You might as well label the entire map of Hinamizawa village around the damn construction site enemy territory. No matter how alert the police were, the locals would just show them exactly how easy it was to sneak around.
警察が警備を固めてからはむしろ挑発されたように過激化が進みました。
Actually, it was after the police upped security that the protesters started getting even more extreme, as though they were being provoked.
ほら、この辺りからだいぶヒートアップしてるのがお分かりになります？
See here? Can you tell how things started to heat up?
事務所の放火、
An office set on fire.
建設重機の破壊工作。
The destruction of heavy construction equipment.
破壊？
Destruction?
まさか爆弾でも？
Couldn't have used explosives.
いや、まさか。
No way.
連中ですね。タンクに角砂糖を放り込むんですよ。
You see, they crammed the gas tanks full of sugar cubes.
あれやられたらエンジン焦げついちゃいますから。
They do that, it fouls the engines. Even in Japan, it seemed there had been people doing that to the vehicles of occupying forces right after the war. Compared to misdemeanors like breaking windows, extremely violent and aggressive.
そこまでやられたら地元警察の面目は丸つぶれですね。
Being toyed around with that to that extent, the local police have completely lost face.
放火はさすがにですね。
The arson was a bit much.
それで地元警察が24時間体制の人員を大幅に増員しまして。
After that, the local police drastically increased the number of personnel they had stationed there around the clock.
それで建設現場への襲撃は一段落したようです。
The raids on the construction site quieted down a bit after that. He used the words quieted down. That was still smack dab in the middle of the list of crimes.
で、連中ですね。
See, after that, they...
現場への直接攻撃が難しくなったとしたら、今度は個人攻撃に切り替えました。
After they found that attacking the site had become difficult, they started resorting to personal attacks.
最初に狙われたのが工事事務所の現場作業者でした。
The first people targeted were the construction workers. After that, there was silence. What was being described to me was a guerrilla war fought in the jungle. Threats and violence against the workers. Harsh words and harsher rocks were thrown.
かなりの告訴がされているのに逮捕者があまり出ていませんね。
There's quite a list of accusations here, but there's not a whole lot of convictions.
そりゃそうです。
Of course not.
第一、目撃者なんかいないんですから。
First of all, there's no witnesses.
それどころか、現行犯だったにしたって、アリバイがポンポンポンとできちゃうんです。
On top of that, even if we identify the perpetrators, they have alibis coming out of the woodwork.
それはどういうことですか？
What do you mean by that?
例えばですね、あなたがひなみ沢で歩いていて、
Take, for example, you're walking around Hinamizawa,
ある男にナイフで刺されたとします。
and a certain man stabs you with a knife.
あなたは相手をよく覚えていて、名前も住所も特定できてるとします。
You remember the person clearly, and even know his name and address.
ただし、ナイフには指紋がなく、物的証拠だけがない。
However, the knife doesn't have any fingerprints on it, and there's no other physical evidence.
まあ、ありがちな傷害事件だと思うでしょ。
Well, you'd think this would be a run-of-the-mill case of assault, wouldn't you?
でも、ひなみ沢じゃ完全犯罪なんです。
In Hinamizawa, though, it's a perfect crime. Everybody is... the entire village. They're all in on it. Protect the man who's the perpetrator. They'll get their story straight and prepare an alibi. To that end, they'll probably even forge some evidence.
裁判にもつれ込ますほかないわけですが、
There's nothing they can do but put them on trial.
何しろ物的証拠はない上、犯人を隠匿する証言だけは後から後から増えていく。
On top of there not being any material evidence, though, people testify one after another to cover his side of the story.
検察も書類送検には二の足を踏むわけです。
Any prosecutor would hesitate to file charges.
殺人ならいざ知らず、 透析で額を切った、殴られてあざができた程度だと、仮に犯人を特定できたとしても、嫌疑不十分で送検されないことがほとんどです。
I'm not sure about murder, but if it's something like opening a gash on somebody's forehead with a thrown rock or leaving a bruise after hitting someone, even if you could single out the suspects, there's enough reasonable doubt to not convict. Every case is without a doubt perpetrated by someone in Hinamizawa. They can't identify who. Even if they could figure out who it is, they're unable to obtain enough circumstantial evidence through due process. The villagers were all extremely well informed about this, and so the malicious, vicious, and tenacious personal attacks continued.
被害者はそれでは納得できないでしょう。
The victims can't have been okay with that, right?
検察審査会に再審請求を出さないのですか？
Couldn't they have filed for an appeal?
それはですね、審査員たちがみんな厄介ごとに巻き込まれたくないと思っているからですよ。
Well, you see, about that, everybody in the inquest committee didn't want to get involved with something so troublesome.
ひなみ沢関係のトラブルには首を突っ込みたがらないんです。
They won't stick their noses into anything related to Hinamizawa. The inquest committee is comprised of a random selection of local residents. In the event the prosecutor fails to get a conviction, they have the power to order a retrial. It's a system designed to assert the will of the people on the actions of expert prosecutors in the legal world. In this case, however, being composed of local residents has backfired.
首を突っ込みたがらない。
They don't want to get involved.
それはなぜです？
Why is that?
なんて説明すればいいんでしょう。
How do I explain this?
恐れられているって言えばいいのかな。
You could say they're afraid.
あそこはね、少し特殊なんです。
Since it's a little special there.
特殊？
Special?
何か政治的なバックボーンが存在するということですか？
Is it an outcast community?
いえ、そういうのとは少し違うというか。
No, it's a little different from that.
まあ怖がられていると思ってください。
Well, just think of it as them being afraid.
この辺りは口では少し説明しにくいんです。
It's a little hard to explain it just now.
ああ、そうだ。わかりやすいのがありました。
Oh, right. There's an easier way. Wiping his forehead with a handkerchief, he opened a file labeled as a list of members of the Onigafuchi Guardians.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の勢力にはですね、
The power of the Onigafuchi Guardians, you
近
see,
隣の町々に強い影響力を持つ人間が多々おりまして、
is the fact that they count many people among their members who are influential in neighboring areas.
この辺をご覧いただけますか。
Did you take a look at this? I looked. What I saw startled me. Prefectural and municipal assembly members, staff members of the Chamber of Commerce, an executive of a business association, an executive of a town council association, and a PTA liaison. There were more than a few people with a lot of say both locally and in the neighboring regions.
この界隈では、ひなみ沢のダム反対運動は皆静観しているのが普通なんです。
Around here, you could pretty much expect your actions to be observed by those against the dam project.
ダムを肯定するような発言をすると、どこでどう巡って不利益を被るかわからない。
If you said something in its support, who knows how it would work out to your disadvantage.
何しろ近隣の町の喉元は、ひなみ沢出身の人間が抑えていますからね。
In any case, every town in this area is being held by the throat by somebody from Hinamizawa.
検察審査員のリストは非公開でしょう。
The list of Inquisition Committee members is undisclosed, isn't it?
報復がされないように何らかの措置が取られているはずでは。
There has to be some measures in place to make sure they'd avoid retribution, no?
一応、非公開でプライバシーは守られてますがね。
Well, it is undisclosed, so their privacy is assured, but
それを管理してるのは、沖宮市役所の人間。
the person in charge of that is from the Okinomiya Municipal
つ
Office.
まり、地元の人間なんです。
In other words, a local.
守秘義務があるとはいえ、やはり人間のつながりは分かりませんからね。
While you might expect some professional confidentiality, you can't know how everybody is connected.
ひなみ沢の人間はそのあたりのつながりがことのほか強固ですから。
People from Hinamizawa have a lot of tight bonds in that regard. When you consider the obligations and duties people have to the region, the web of information thereby formed is nothing to scoff at. It's not uncommon for housewives in a neighborhood to know which kid from which house is what grade in which school, what subjects they're good at, and what vegetables they hate, among other things.
それにほら、ひなみ沢と遅延の深い暴力団組織がありましてね。
You see, there's a Yakuza organization here with strong ties to Hinamizawa and the surrounding area.
これが今回の騒動に全面バックアップしてるらしいんです。
It would seem that they're providing full support in these recent incidents.
こちらが出てくるのが一番効いてるみたいですね。
They seem to be proving most effective.
暴力団
Gangsters.
ダムの建設反対で住民と一致
Fighting together with their residents opposed to the construction of the dam?
どういう利害が一致するのか読みがたいですね。
A little hard to see what their common interest is.
それは難しいことじゃないです。
It's not that difficult at all.
実はですね、この暴力団の組長がですね、ひなみ沢村の出身なんです。
You see, actually, one of the lieutenants in that gang is originally from Hinamizawa.
村の重鎮の一人の婿養子にあたりまして。
He was adopted into a rather influential family in the village. Huh. Huh. Exactly what was this Hinamizawa? I thought it was some desolate rustic village. However, for some reason they exerted a strong influence on the surrounding areas and had a strong sense of unity. They'd protect their village by any means necessary, even if that meant resorting to violence. The chief had said that they were afraid because there were numerous influential people living there. Somehow, I got the feeling that they were afraid of the village itself. There was something clearly different from what I had read in the documents in Tokyo. This was no simple residential protest against the dam. For some reason, an uneasy feeling began to nestle itself at the back of my mind. I chose the most basic way to ask my question. In other words, I directly asked what I wanted to know.
室長
Chief,
これは例えば仮の話ですが
this is just a hypothetical situation, but...
はい。
Huh?
例えばその鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が
This Onigafuchi Guardians,
ダム計画を頓挫させるため
in order to halt the dam
要
project,
人を脅迫するようなことは考えられますか
do you think that they could, say, threaten somebody important to accomplish that? The chief replied immediately.
あり得るでしょう。
It's possible.
事実、彼らは市役所や県庁、建設省の工事事務所にも押しかけ、恫喝まがいのことをしていますし。
Truth be told, they've already gone to municipal and prefectural offices, as well as local offices of the Ministry of Construction, and done things that could be construed as intimidation.
工事関係者の家族が不審者につけ回されたという事件も起こっています。
Several of the workers' families have also reported that they're being followed around by some suspicious people. Well, that would make sense. To halt progress on the dam, they raided the construction site, destroying heavy machinery and lighting the construction office on fire. They didn't have any qualms about doing that. Threats and violence against people related to the dam would probably be no problem. But that was it. Even your everyday hoodlum could use threats and violence. However, this time it was the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, an abnormally high-level crime. Not only was pulling off the kidnapping difficult in the first place, but so was maneuvering to have the minister surrender to their demands immediately. There was no way this was the work of amateurs. Do these people have the power to enact this large of a crime? That was the heart of the matter. Was the Onigafuchi Guardians an organization capable of pulling this off? In order to ask that question, once again, I chose the most basic method.
例えば 政府要人の関係者を誘拐して脅迫なんてことがあり得ると思いますか？
Again, hypothetically, do you think you could kidnap a relative of someone of political importance? There's no way they could pull off something that big. That was the answer I most hoped for. If it was that answer, my work was as good as halfway done. I might be able to get back in time for my wife to give birth. That was how it was supposed to be. The chief, without a hint of hesitation, replied,
やるかもしれません。
They just might.
そこの知れない連中ですから。
There's no telling how far they'd go. Sorry, Yuki. Seemed like my work wouldn't end so simply after all. Oh my.
おう、赤坂くんか。
Oh, Akasaka-kun.
ご苦労さん。
Good work.
担当地域での情報収集はどうですか？
How's the information gathering at your assigned region?
順調です。
It's coming along.
これから現地警察の公安と接触できることになりましたので、現地へ向かう予定です。
It seems I'll be able to meet with their local public safety department, so I'm planning on heading out that way.
東京の調査の方はどうですか？
How's the investigation in Tokyo going?
他の職員も順調に調査を進めているよ。
The others are progressing along, but
でも調べる団体が星の数だからね。
the number of groups we have to investigate are countless.
そんなに悠長に時間もかけられないし。
Time isn't really a luxury here. There were no new developments at this time. No matter how suspicious the Onikafuchi Guardians was, if they solved the case in Tokyo, my job was done. It looked like my wishful thinking wouldn't come to pass. Hanging up the phone, I let my gaze drift outside the window to the valley of unfamiliar buildings.
赤坂さん、
Akasaka-san.
今、お貸しできる車が戻ってきました。
A car you can borrow just returned.
ご案内しますので、こちらへどうぞ。
I'll take you to it, so follow me.
あ、すみません。
Oh, thank you. He showed me the elevator to the underground parking lot where a battered sedan was waiting for me. That the steering wheel kept drifting to the left was a little concerning, but it would be enough to get me around for a while. My destination was Shishibone City, Blank Prefecture. An area under the control of the Onikafuchi Guardians. The Okinomiya police station was right on the front lines. We get like these cards. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm really fucking tired. I did not sleep great. So I might have to call it early. And I'd hate to do that, but I looked at how we're only an hour in and I went, oh, Jesus. Yeah. We gonna do that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking tired. Well, I don't want to promise anything, but I have promised that next time will be a full stream. I'm interested in this chapter though. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was a bonus, but we're having it set in the late 70s when the actual like dam project is happening and is being protested, and we're playing as a cop. I'm interested because we started a little bit further in the future in 1980. Was it 4 or 5 or 6, something like that? It was 4, right? Or was it 3? I don't remember. See, I'm so tired. But we started like kind of in the mid 80s. Talking about we were gonna go see our old friend Uishi, but now we've jumped back in time to this kidnapping that's apparently occurred, and that's our 85, yeah. And so we're investigating. Can I have you asexually? Elaborate on that. I'm gonna say no. I'm crown number 2, by the way. I see that. But I didn't expect this chapter to be this way. I mean, I don't know what I thought it was gonna be. I really thought, like, is it just gonna be like the first 3 chapters where we're gonna be Keiichi, shit's gonna be slice of life, and then it's gonna go crazy, but it's gonna be like on a shorter little time scale and be a little bonus thing. But no, we're playing as an entirely different character. And we're actually getting to see, well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Man craves his meat.
Oh, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. But we're actually like, can you please talk about the state of Monster Hunter Wilds, this current meta? Yo, dog, I don't play Monster Hunter. You're gonna have to ask me something else. I don't know shit about Monster Hunter. You can ask me about, what's the difference? I play Ace Attorney. You can ask me about workers and resources. You can ask me about, like, there's so many games I haven't played recently. I don't play games. You can ask me about Resident Evil. I was gonna say Call of Duty, but I haven't played Call of Duty in a hot minute. I'm not really a Call of Duty person anymore. They're all poop now. They're all poop. Okay, Ace Attorney, Godot vs. Von Karma. I love Godot. Depends which Von Karma you're talking about. If you're talking about Manfred, I like Godot more. But I have a soft spot for Franziska, because I find her really funny. And also, she's genuinely charming. But Godot is so cool. So, I'm gonna say Godot. That guy's so funny. I'm pulling up Godot's theme. We're gonna play this as our little ending music here. Don't you dare play an ad. Yay. This is not. This is like the jazzier version. I want the in-game version. There it is. I love this fucking song. What do you want for the thumbnail? I don't know. Nothing happened. Send me whatever you want. You know what? Surprise me. Waiter. Just give me whatever. Who's that fucker from the OG games? Pink guy, pink suit, blonde hair. Pink suit, blonde hair. Pink suit, blonde hair. Tip of my tongue right now. Oh, why can't I remember? I can't remember at all. There's so many random chumps in Ace Attorney. His name is Red White, you fake fan? Is Red White's hair blonde? No, his hair's pink. You're the fake fan. Because I thought about him and I was like, no, his hair is pink. It's more purple. But but it's like, he's not blonde, I can tell you that. I got an image of this guy. There's a test noob. Uh-huh, okay. Because I thought at first you were, like, talking about Clavier. Because Clavier's got, like, it's more of a darker magenta, but he's blonde with, like, a kind of pinkish suit. But I was like, no, he's not from the OG games. He's from Apollo Justice. But I was like, maybe when you say OG, you're including Apollo Justice? So I was really trying to decipher if that's what you meant. Play Jake Marshall's theme. Enough is enough. I'll play this and then we're going to end the stream. Here you go. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. I will not be streaming Wednesday because I believe Deltarune is coming out. So, you know, normally I do Tomodachi. But I'm gonna be playing Deltarune, man. So Tomodachi is gonna get postponed. And then Friday, GTA 4. I've been putting GTA 4 off too much. I need to actually do it again. So I'll try to make sure Friday, considering I'm already going to be missing one stream this week because of Deltarune, I don't want to also cancel GTA 4. So I'll try to make sure GTA 4 happens this Friday. But that's going to be it for tonight. Sorry to conclude the stream so early. I'm very tired. I'll see you all Friday for GTA 4, and then 1 week from now for the next part of Higurashi.